Story 1. I apologize in advance for any formatting issues since I'm on mobile. English is my first language, so I'll do my best to keep it clear. For some background, I'm the father of a 9-year-old girl who means everything to me. Her mother and I split up 3 months after she was born when I discovered she had been unfaithful. Naturally, I got a D and a test, and thankfully, my daughter was mine. However, the problem is that her mother doesn't care about her health. She feeds her whatever she wants and sometimes even gives her coffee and donuts for breakfast. It's a real mess. I've called Child Protective Services (CPS) and the police in the past for wellness checks, but nothing came of it. Since she was about 4 years old, my daughter has struggled with her weight. Now, on to today's story, which happened about an hour ago. Cast. Entitled Kid 1, a child around 13-14 years old. Entitled Kid 2, another child of the same age, possibly twins, but definitely brothers. Entitled Mother, the kid's mother. Entitled Father, the kid's father. My daughter, my little girl. Me, the narrator and father. My daughter is aware that she's overweight, and she's constantly teased at school. So, I've made it a habit to visit her at least 3 times a week for lunch, as she always asks me to come so she can eat in peace, away from the bullies. This weekend, she was spending time with me, and she's recently taken a liking to basketball, which I think is great. This morning, she asked me to go to the park down the road in our community to shoot some baskets with her. Of course, I said yes, and we went. When we arrived at the park, I parked and immediately noticed 2 kids sitting at one of those park tables, using inappropriate language and tossing a basketball back and forth. I paid them no mind, and we walked up to the court that wasn't being used. I also noticed 2 adults, who turned out to be the entitled parents, sitting on a park bench about 30 feet away, smoking and messing around on their phones. We started shooting, and she was having fun when I heard it. Entitled Kid 1, get off the court, fat kid. We were about to use it, and you're too big to play anyway. Look, you can't even make a shot, mind you. My daughter is 9 and still learning. Entitled Kid 2, yeah, maybe go home and use a treadmill. They both started laughing. Now, they said this right in front of me, and I was furious. I'm a big guy, about 6 feet 1 inch tall and 190 pounds. I don't like confrontation, but I'm not afraid to engage if necessary. Me. Okay, first off, both of you need to watch your mouths and do not insult my daughter again. Do you really think it's okay to insult someone about something so sensitive and laugh about it? Your parents are failing you. That's when the parents, who were still at the bench, heard me and decided to join in on what they considered fun. Entitled Mother, who do you think you are? Why are you yelling at my sweet boys? Entitled Father, yeah, you better watch what you say, buddy. Me, your precious boys are standing here insulting my daughter and calling her names. Do you two really think that's okay? Insulting a child younger than them over something she's already bullied about at school? We're here trying to get some exercise and play some basketball, and I don't need to deal with your kids insulting her. The entitled mother looked at me without blinking, as if what I had just said was completely out of place. Entitled Mother? So what's wrong with what they said? Look at her, she is overweight, isn't she? They're just being honest. She shouldn't be here. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Entitled Father, yeah, they're doing her a favor. She's just embarrassing herself. I mean, look at her. Then they all started laughing, 2 teenagers and 2 adults laughing at my little girl while she stood behind me, trying so hard not to cry. I lost my composure. Me. All right, listen, you 2 pointing at the parents are the lowest kind of people. So, they're being honest, and that's okay? Fine, here's some honesty. Your sons are bullies, and I promise you, eventually, another kid will stand up for themselves and teach them a lesson. As a normal adult, I despise bullying. You both are lousy parents for thinking what your kids are doing is acceptable. Entitled Father, watch what you say to my wife and sons. Your daughter is overweight. Deal with it. My daughter, yeah, and you're a mean man, and you shouldn't say these things to people. She was crying, and I was even more upset. Me, watch what I say. Or what? What are you going to do? You and your perfect little family seem to think honesty is okay, no matter what form it takes, so I'm telling you, you're all just bullies. And unlike my daughter, I'm an adult, and I won't put up with any of your nonsense. If any of you say another word to my daughter, I swear you'll regret it." I was maybe 3 inches from the father's face when I said this. Looking back, maybe I shouldn't have said, "You'll regret it," but I was angry and in protection mode. The father just stared at me without moving for about 10 seconds, and I didn't move either. Me. "We're not leaving. My daughter just wanted a fun day at the park, and I won't tolerate another negative word said against her. Test me if you want." The parents looked at each other before the mother finally scoffed at her sons. "Let's go, we're going home." They began walking away down the street toward their house. I watched them most of the way because I had a feeling they'd say something else. And unfortunately, I was right. When they were about 100 or so feet down the street, the father yelled, "Have fun with your big daughter, punk!" And they hurried their walk. I started running after them. I was done and wasn't going to put up with this anymore when I heard my daughter in a calm voice. My daughter, "Daddy, just let them leave. Now we can play alone." She was smiling now, and I could tell she was right. She just wanted this to be over. Me? "All right, sweetheart, want to play horse?" My daughter, "Yeah, you go first. And thanks for sticking up for me, Daddy. I'm so sick of bullies." Me? Always, "Hun, and I know. Don't worry, let's just have some fun. I'll always be there to help you when I can." I gave her a hug. We had a good time for the next hour shooting hoops, and then we went home. Thanks for reading, and remember, don't put up with bullying. Edit. Thank you to everyone who gave awards and for your kind words and support. If you're dealing with bullying, you're not alone. Don't forget that. Be the bigger person and know that if they're bullying you, you're in control. They're trying to get a reaction from you, and it's up to you whether or not you give them that satisfaction. I'd help all of you if I could, genuinely. Also, to those of you saying this is fake, there are always some on all posts. I wish it was, but it's not. Story 2. I'm an only child, but I've seen many stories on Reddit about people who have essentially had to raise their siblings because their parents couldn't, and it's horrible. Either get a babysitter or don't have more children than you can care for. These are your children, not those of the oldest child. Therefore, they are only your responsibility. Parenting is 100% a choice that you chose to make. Yes, the oldest child should help out as all of the children should, but their lives shouldn't revolve around taking care of their siblings. I posted this on the subreddit Unpopular Opinion today, and apparently people think I'm some kind of jerk for thinking that parents who turn their kids into secondary parents have more children when they can't afford a sitter or nanny, or have children when they are not in a good state financially or mentally are irresponsible and selfish. Because let's care more about not hurting the parents' feelings than the well-being of the children, right? Now, I'm going to clear up some misconceptions commenters made about my beliefs on Unpopular Opinion. I'm specifically referring to older siblings whose lives have become centered around taking care of their siblings. That's what I mean by secondary parents. Obviously, siblings should help out, but there's a difference between helping out and being a secondary parent. If you want to be a secondary parent, then fine. But that doesn't mean all older siblings should do the same. I know there are certain circumstances where it's not the parents' fault. I have sympathy for those people, but a lot of the time, it is their fault. There's nothing wrong with looking up to your older siblings. That's great. I've had to say this a whole lot in response to commenters, so I'll say it again. Most people stay in one economic class their whole lives. People who experience extreme financial changes are in the minority. I am sympathetic to those in that minority. I am not sympathetic to those who have children when they don't have the financial or mental ability to do so. Parenting is 100% a choice. Don't forget that. I realize that there are kids who exaggerate their responsibilities. I'm not referring to those people in my post. Story 3. I was at my local grocery store getting items for breakfast for dinner. I walked over to the deli department to grab some sliced cheese. As I was reaching for my bag of cheese, I saw something that made me pause. An entitled mother was putting a package of cheese back. Now, this wouldn't be a big deal if she hadn't taken slices out to feed her child. Seriously, this woman, who wasn't wearing gloves, helped herself to some pre-sliced, pre-weighed cheese, sealed the package back up, and left it for some unsuspecting person to grab. This would be infuriating even in a non-pandemic period. But given what's happening now, with how contagious this virus is, it's outrageous. I immediately informed the deli employees, and they pulled every package of cheese that wasn't sealed with a sticker over the zipper. There was no way to pinpoint which one this vile woman touched. I also notified the customer service department so they could review the cameras. I didn't stick around to see what happened, but please, everyone, check your cheese packages carefully. Story 4. This just happened a few hours ago, so I'll keep it short since I'm on my phone and on lunch break. It's me again from the animal shelter, which seems to be a magnet for the crazy and overly entitled. Enter a 60-year-old entitled grandmother. She came into our shelter with a tiny poodle that was skin and bones, missing hair, and seemingly blind and deaf. The dog looked like it had passed away months ago and didn't know it. Entitled grandma claimed it was a stray she found. We asked her the basics, including, "Do you live in this county?" See, what some people don't know is that every county and state has its own animal shelter or animal control facility. Any stray animal found must be brought to that county's shelter, usually within 48 hours of finding the animal. It is illegal to take a stray animal from one county and surrender it to an animal shelter in a different county where you don't live. That being said, entitled grandma didn't live in our county, but she claimed to have found the dog running down the road in our county. Okay, it happens. We took the dog in, and I was called to do its medical exam. My job is to ensure that the dogs, cats, and whatever else we receive get their proper shots and medication so they don't get sick while they're here or, if they're already sick, to start getting them healthy. This requires a lot of wrestling with big animals that could potentially harm me if they timed it just right, as they don't want to take their medicine or get a shot. So, I took the little poodle into the back, and the first thing I did was scan the animal for a microchip. The chip came up instantly. I researched the chip, and sure enough, it was registered in the next county over, where entitled grandma lives. This raised a red flag for me, indicating that it might be her dog. However, I followed through and contacted the neighboring county's animal control. They pulled up the chip number and gave me the owner's name, address, and phone number. It wasn't entitled grandma. Okay, I thought, well, I've been wrong before. I called the owner listed on the chip. It turned out the owner was entitled grandma's daughter. Me. Hello, is this entitled grandma's daughter? Daughter? Yes, who is this? Me. This is me from County Animal Shelter. Are you missing a small, elderly poodle? Daughter. No. No, I got a poodle for my mother as a present back in 2016. Did it get lost? Me. No, your mother brought it in and told us it was a stray she found. She falsified information on a government form and abandoned her animal. These are serious issues. She needs to come get her dog now. Daughter. I understand. I'll call her and make sure she comes to get her dog back. About a half hour later, my desk phone rang. It was the daughter's number. I thought, okay, this is them telling me they're coming back. But no. Me? County Animal Shelter, this is me speaking. Daughter sounding very frustrated. Yes, this is me calling back. My mother isn't coming back for the dog. She says she doesn't want it anymore because she thinks it's old and ugly. She demanded I get her a teacup chihuahua instead. Me. Well, that's between you and her, but either you or she needs to come get this dog, as it's a crime to surrender your animal to a shelter in a county you don't live in, let alone the animal abandonment charges and providing false information on a government form. Daughter. I understand, but I work in another country and can't make it in time to get the dog. Me. Then your mother needs to be an adult and come get her dog. She has until the end of the day. Otherwise, we will be filing a police report. Daughter. Well, she's old. She shouldn't have to deal with this kind of stress. Me. She should have considered that before she lied to us and abandoned her animal. Have you ever seen this dog? It's skin and bones. You are aware that animal cruelty is a felony in this state, right? Daughter. Fine, I'll come get her dog. Me. We close at posted hours. She hung up, and I went to lunch. I doubted I would see her or the mother, but I was true to my word. If they didn't get here by the end of the day, They be dealing with the police instead of us. Edit. Quick update. With 3 minutes left until we close, and no sign of the daughter or grandma, this has now become a police matter. I gave them plenty of time, so now they can deal with felony charges. Edit 2. No word from the daughter or entitled grandma either. I doubt they'll show up again at this point. The poodle is doing great, though. She's getting the food and medication she needs and already seems more energetic. The plus side is that in shelters, smaller dogs always tend to get adopted first, so once she's medically cleared for adoption, she'll most likely find a home that same day. Edit 3. This should be the conclusion here. The poodle was placed with a senior dog rescue that already has a foster lined up. The dog has been medically cleared, so she's gonna be just fine. As for entitled grandma, the police made contact with her. Since she committed the crime in this county, charges are being placed against her here. As for the court date or any further information in the case, I won't be involved, as it is now between entitled grandma and the county. However, I do know it's not going to go well for her.